Wealth, yoga, wine. Welcome to my podcast. I'm Valerie Hale. You can never make a decision in the future. Taking decisions is a now process. Taking decisions equals action steps equals results. Mary Morrissey's Dream Builder program teaches us how to build dreams and then achieve them. In the last podcast, I talked about 3 of the first steps on how to build dreams and then achieve them through her Dream Builder program. She teaches us, notice what you're noticing. That is, what are you thinking about all day long? Secondly, notice your longings and desires. That leads to the third one, what would you really love? This begins the basis for dream builders and achieving your dreams. The fourth step is, now that you have a concise idea of what you would truly love, and it can take time, the next step, decision that you want to take is, what can you do today in 5 minutes, in half an hour, in an hour? What can you do now with what you already have in order to move you closer to achieving your dream? And the fifth step is brave thinking. Let's get back to what can you do today to move you toward your big dream and achieving it. For instance, let's think of Simone Biles for instance. This young lady went through sexual harassment for many, many years, and look what she overcame in her mind. This was a big dream for her to be gold medal and make it into the Olympics. She's a gold medal winner. She's our GOAT, greatest of all time. And that's what it means. What can you do today to move towards your big dream? Take something smaller. For instance, I had to leave my 26th year of selling fine wine because of COVID, and my French-themed bed and breakfast closed. During lockdown, I thought about this over and over. What do I love? What skills do I already have? And I already had 26 years experience in Kundalini Yoga. I had 26 years selling French wine. I love public speaking. I had been in Toastmasters for 30 years. And I came up with a podcast, Wealth, Yoga, Wine. You can do the same thing, and that's what Mary teaches us, is what do you already have in your skill set, and what can you do today? Maybe that's just simple research on a topic that you would love to have as a second career. Mary talks about brave thinking activating. Brave thinking versus common hour thinking is what she explains to us. Common thinking is the example, I need to wait until I have more time. We all get caught in that trap. Instead, she wants us to say, I make the time to do the things that matter to me. The Dream Building program that's on my podcast, the link, is a free masterclass. I strongly suggest, however, especially in this crazy new world we have, that you invest the money for this program, which lasts you a lifetime. You own this like you own a fancy new car. You can share it with your friends, your colleagues, your spouse, your kids at home. This dream building program will make a huge difference in your life and other people with whom you know. Kundalini Yoga also practices brave thinking, taking action steps. We just did a new moon class, and this was a different kind of new moon class because it's harvesting all the seeds we've been planting for the last moon cycles, last new moon. Generally, a new moon is all about new beginnings, new things to plant. I actually garden by the moon. New ideas to start, new relationships to start, But Howard Prakash taught us that it's time to harvest, since the last new moon, what we were developing in our minds, in our careers, in our relationships. During Kundalini Yoga, we are instructed to close our eyes. The reason we do that is because you become more concentrated and more focused on the spiritual aspect of doing the Kriya. You go deep inside, and that's the same thing with practicing dream building your career, dream building your longings and desires. You must go deep inside and feel what your heart is telling you about your new career, what the new moon is directing you to do, what you need to plant. Sometimes I plant the wrong thing. Kira Grace is this amazing company that supports women who practice yoga throughout the world. And in their teachings, they help and strengthen other women, especially in countries where they are oppressed. One of the things that I really like about Kira Grace, and I strongly suggest you also visit her website, the website, besides looking at their beautiful clothing, you can sign up for Words for the Soul, an everyday salutation. I like to read this first thing in the morning, and I like to read it at the end of the day. The one that I read this morning was, "Women are angels, and when someone breaks our wings, we simply continue to fly, usually on a broomstick. We are flexible like this." Kira Grace has free resources on her website. It's not just a place to shop, it's a place to think and act also, and make a decision to purchase her beautiful clothes. She always does a discount. Wine. One of my favorite importers of all time is Cape Classics. One of the main reasons I love Cape Classics is because they branched out into French wines, my all-time fave love of wines, probably about 10 or 11 years ago. Cape Classics, however, its roots are in South Africa. Peter DeWitt was interviewed by Marianne Phillips, who works for Cape Classics as their marketing director. It's a wonderful podcast, about 20 minutes long. It's included on the podcast details. I strongly suggest you listen to that also. What I appreciate about this podcast is how Marianne questions and lets Peter talk for quite a while to explain the uniqueness of the farm. It's a family farm that began back in the 1880s. Very old, and it's large, several hundreds of acres. The farm began as just your typical farm. Then it grew into ostrich farming for the feathers. Then, miraculously, actually Peter's grandfather was going through very close to bankruptcy. Apartheid was becoming a stronghold in South Africa and having a huge impact on their industry. Miraculously, as fate would have it, they discovered diamonds on their property. You can imagine the wealth. From that, they decided, at the same time they started planting vineyards, by the way, they also decided to invest in thoroughbred horses. Peter actually explains in the podcast that their soil is largely limestone. Limestone is very good for the vines. It's even very good for the horses. It builds stronger bones, stronger marrow. They decided to make the thoroughbred horse image as the label on all of their Excelsior wines. These are the most affordable and delicious wines, in my opinion, you're going to find worldwide. They are simple to drink, but they're not just quaffers. They have true body and true essence and elegance to them. Cabernet is their flagship varietal. Chardonnay, I would say, is the next. Sauvignon Blanc. Their wines are exquisite in that they're so accessible to people all over the world. They are sustainable, not fully organic. Peter explains the complications in a way that really clarifies the essence of being a sustainable farmer versus purely organic. South Africa does have their own certification for being purely organic also. The last thing that I absolutely appreciate about Excelsior and Peter DeWitt's farm is that he realizes that apartheid had a tragic impact on people of color in his environment. They have about 275 employees, and his family decided that they certainly had enough wealth to help their 275 employees become educated. They have built their own school, and the teachings are of a par where he has his own kids attend the schools. Therefore, his little village, as he calls it, everything is self-contained right there. He knows that the children of the workers on the farm are getting an excellent education, whether they stay there to be part of the working family, the working team, certainly up to them, but they are getting an education that will lead them to other aspirations that they have on their own. Very commendable and highly recommendable vineyards to either visit or certainly buy Excelsior wines. In conclusion, you can never make a decision in the future. That's called planning. To make a decision, it sounds like I finished my resume. I interviewed for a new job. I'm changing careers. It's today that it's happening when you make a decision, because then it leads to action steps, then it leads to results. The Dream Builder program certainly helps you learn how to take decisions and then action steps, and you are going to see results. Mary Morrissey's been teaching this for over 50 years. She's one of the most noteworthy people in this transformation industry. PBS actually did an entire documentary on this program, Dream Builder. Kundalini Yoga, the new moon is the time to start harvesting all those longings and desires you have and take those necessary decisions. And of course, Kundalini Yoga, this is what you got to do to get these things rolling. Take classes. Lastly, wine. I really believe that Cape Classics is one of the best porters and distributors out there. They work with small producers only, even though when you look at the South African wines, some of the farms are large. These are farms that are all family owned. They're not conglomerates, and they really deserve your attention. To wrap this up, I am not a life coach. I'm not a consultant. I produce this podcast on a weekly basis to help hundreds of people around the world enhance their lives with 3 easy, unique topics. Merci.